This is Femi Anikula Kukuti. You're watching Susan Rice on African West. Keep watching.
I urge all of you who know what it means to be African, all of you who may not know what it means to be African, all of you who are on the journey of awakening, all of you who need enlightenment and continued support, to tune in to Africa Rise with Susan West. And to you, Susan, as a mother, I want to thank you for all the great work that you're doing to uplift us, to continue to engage us, to inform us, and also challenging us to engage in those conversations, difficult as they may be. You are taking us there. So Susan West, Africa Rise, keep up the great work.
Africa Rise.
Pleasure being on Africa Rise and the fact that you focus on African problems, African issues, and I would urge you to continue, and I hope that more and more people pay attention to the leaders that you bring to speak on Africa Rise, and that this will translate into some change for the better for our continent. Congratulations.
Okay! This is your numero uno, and my name is Charlie Boy, the area father. You're the very one of Africa, and the president of all frustrated Nigerians. Keep it real with Susan West. Yes, these are the channel where they like to watch when I won't get sent. You know?
Africa Rise with Susan West.
Goodness, I have been talking and I just realized that welcome everyone who joins us on Africa Rise with Susan West. It is my pleasure. It's been such a beautiful day. The former Ghanaian President Jerry Rawlings, it came to everyone as a shock. His talk, and today opening on this program we will be honoring his memory and also sharing his legacy, you know, whether or not some Ghanaians might feel differently, but for us and the rest of us Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, what we do know is the enigmatic, charismatic person, the personality of President Jerry Rawlings, and how he brought him out of the brink of, a collapse, or whatever you might call it, as a result of corruption and bad governance, which most of Africa tend to be dealing with right now. So welcome. As you join this broadcast, remember, create watch parties, share this broadcast. We rely on you to watch, and that's how at the end of the broadcast we have the thousands, hundreds and thousands of views that we have. I'm Susan West, and we're going to start today talking about the legacy of the former Ghanaian president Jerry Rawlings. We have our guest, Miss Naquetta Ricks. She is one of the continental Africans who emigrated and have made us proud. She won a landslide victory against her Republican and Liberal. She's going to be coming on after Mr. Henry Lartey. Mr. Henry Lartey is a politician in Ghana running for the presidency the next election. So without further ado, I'm just going to Rahina Bello, welcome. Greetings, she says. Glory Grace Shannon, great personalities discussing issues concerning people and nations. Well done, Sue. Thank you. And of course, the more people that join the broadcast, then and share, get to reach out to many more people. Right. So I can see my guest is clicking on in a while, but hopefully in a bit I will be able to bring him on so that we can go ahead and face discussion about the legacy of Jerry Rawlings, a very much admired. A lot of people, some people know a lot about Jerry Rawlings, but really didn't understand the story of why he was that and much more. Jerry J. Rawlings took over the leadership of Ghana in 1979. For some of us who were just born, some people are just very little toddlers, but already, so they understand. Now he came into the taking over the leadership of Ghana as Air Force officer. There was a coup d'etat and he took over. Why? Because at that time Ghana suffered so much corruption, and the government was so corrupt, and some things that it was upon him to take on the leadership position. And when he did take over as the military ruler, for I think 3 months. 3 months after he handed over to a civilian government let me try to remind myself the name of who he handed over. I will try to remember. And then, 2 years after, he took over again through another coup d'etat. Why? Because he saw that the person who took over from able to captain the ship of Ghana to calmer and successful waters, and so he went on again as a military head of state, and when the time was right, he then handed over back to civilian government. Let me quickly bring our guest on. I can see he's there. Hello. Hello, Mr. Lartey. Give me a moment. I think he's trying to sort himself out. Yes. So just a little back. President J. Rawlings took over the the leadership of Ghana. Love him or hate him, in Ghana there are people who have who are not very Rawlings, and there are more people who really love him in Ghana and on the continent. And so we're just going to be talking about his legacy. Mr. Lartey, Dr. Lartey, if you're ready, I am ready for you. Hello, Dr. Lartey. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
But I can hear you clearly.
Hello, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Dr. Henry, we can hear you. We can hear you. I'm not sure what the issues are right now. Hello, Dr. Henry Lartey. Can you increase your volume? Can you increase your volume on your device so that you can hear me clearly? Hello, Diane. Welcome. Welcome, Twinkle Oluwarie. Welcome. Thank you. He says hello. Dr. Lartey, can you hear me now? Screen and let him try to sort out his audio. Right. So for the viewers watching right now, what are your memories of President Jerry Rawlings? Type in your comments and I will take as many reads as possible. What are your memories? Are you a fan of the former President Jerry Rawlings? Are you one of those who don't feel like we see him as a great Pan-Africanist, a man with so much charisma, this yearning to have at the moment? I mean, if you're a Nigerian right now, you'll agree with me that we're at a place where we are beginning a messiah in the likes of that can come in the likes of personality like the former president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings. You would agree with me. Loads of people here will agree with me, I know, because we're all in agreement that we have an inept leadership in Nigeria right now. And Mr. Lartey, on screen, please. Yeah, so type in your comments what you think about the former president, about the story, when the story broke of his passing. You know, I mean, there are leaders who the entire country and the entire world will nowadays will, especially if they've coming through the as military, good riddance. But this is one person that has hit home. A lot of people feel as though they lost a family. African that I have spoken with since his passing, concerning his passing, have been so bereaved. Dr. Lartey, hopefully he can hear me now. Hello, Dr. Lartey, can you hear me now?
Yes, on and off. It's not quite clear, but let's start.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Quickly, I can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you. Guys, with Susan West. Okay. I see what from his end. Today is not from my side. Dr. Lartey, if you can hear me, please go ahead and quickly the personality, the person of the former president Jerry Rawlings his can recall.
Susan, it's very difficult to understand what you're saying, but I'm sure you're asking about the demise of J.J. Rawlings.
his
The whole country is really
legacy.
sad at the moment. Everybody's sad at the moment. Unfortunately for Jerry Rawlings, he had some bad luck as well, because when he was in power, 6 or 7 head of states were killed, and some of their children are not happy about what happened during his regime. So they're also very, very mad that the country is trying to give him a state barrier. From where I stand, when Jerry Rawlings was in power in 1983, they actually attacked my father and my young brother, because my father had 5 newspapers. The Citadel Daily published the Rawlings chain, the chain which is your neck. The neck was so small and people were starving and they couldn't have anything to eat. So the late Dan Lartey published that the Rawlings chain is killing the Ghanaians. And Rawlings was not very happy about it. It was not only the Citadel Daily that was publishing, those Free Press was also doing the same thing. So on the May Day parade in 1983, he mentioned that the newspapers that were giving him problems. Of course, he had the cadets, who are his supporters. They went straight to the law courts, smashed some of the law courts down, and then went to Free Press, beat Tommy Thompson, who was the managing director of the Free Press, so badly that he never recovered. Then they went to our house and our press, and my father disappeared into one of the properties upstairs. They got a cousin of mine. They beat him all the way to the top. Fortunately, there was so much debris upstairs, so they could not find my father. And they beat Lartey all the way down. Then they saw my younger brother, who was the one who distributed newspapers, and they chased him with a shotgun. They missed him, but the gun hit his neck and scraped his neck, and it became very septic. They brought Danny to me in the UK, in Bristol, where I was living at the time, and we took him to South Bend Hospital. He was there for 3 years. He was taking 18 tablets a day. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Danny was taking 18 tablets. Yes, the system is not very good, and that's my problem. Yeah, Danny was taking 18 tablets a day to recover. And when I came back to Ghana, my father was a member for the Freedom and Justice. And they asked the PNDC to hand over to multi-party system on 1st August 1990. At the time, we went there to have dinner with my father. And when that happened, they banned my export. There was a ban on my exports because of the Movement for Freedom and Justice asking them to hand over to multi-party system. The funny thing is, J.J. Rawlings was a good man and a bad man. A good man because he loved Ghana so much. But in the process of trying to do good for Ghana, he had a few people. Some of the people he had was not done by himself, but by the cadres. And we all took him to ransom.
Mr. Lartey,
especially with my...
Mr. Lartey, give me a moment.
Yes?
I'm going to take you off screen. I'm going to take you off screen to adjust your visual. We don't want to see you the way we're looking at you now.
I can get out of the car.
Could you please put your just give us a moment. The network is bad, but I also want to make sure that we're having good visual where he right. It's better now. So
should I go ahead?
You were breaking up. I could pick up from what you said that former President Jerry Rawlings was a good man, where one of the people who suffered during his government, if I'm right. So your experience, not something that was wasn't so good. But how is the feeling generally in the how are Ghanaians taking his passing?
Well, I can't hear you properly. I'm so disappointed. I thought this thing will go smoothly, but I'll try my best. As of now, the president of Ghana has actually given a 7-day mourning. The flag is flying at half-mast, and we are mourning Rawlings for 1 week. And we tried to government is trying to give him the respect that they think he deserves. And I think it's in the right position, it's in the right direction. J.J. Rawlings is a complex, hardworking man who loved Ghana so much. But in the process, he destroyed a few people, some by himself and some not by himself. And for example, when the cadets went to our home and went to the Free Press to disturb my father and the other journalists, I don't think J.J. Rawlings was aware of that. At the same time, there was a young man who was Mauli Goka who was shot dead because they didn't like him. And most people thought it was J.J. Rawlings. And just some judges were killed as well. So there are some people are mad with him because their fathers had to run to exile. And some others like us, although they did wrong, we realized.
Right. I'm going to ask something.
They did wrong.
You know, before there have been Ghanaians who have mentioned that before Jerry Rawlings took over the reins of took over as president, that Ghana there was monopoly by just a few people in government. Just a few people monopolized. You couldn't afford to even buy food, or even if you had money, it was a difficult place for Ghana. So some of his actions were justified in any way.
It's not justified to kill people for that reason. Well, I agree with you to a point, because it got to a point. My father was the head of government business during that Achampon regime, and he resigned because there were people around Achampon who were influencing him to do the bad things. And as soon as he resigned, they put him in jail for 3 years. So when Rawlings tried to overthrow the government, he failed. And then the June 4th happened. Fortunately, my father was released from detention. You can imagine living in the UK and not knowing whether your father was alive or dead. So when Rawlings came in, I was happy that he had come into power. And he wanted Ghana to move forward. He was carrying cocoa sacks on his back, cleaning the gutters and all those sort of things. But that does not give you the right to kill innocent people. So on one side, I supported him, and on the other side, like in Karawiwa, when Abacha killed Karawiwa, as you're aware, J.J. Rawlings supported Abacha, and I don't think it was right for him to do that. It was wrong. You don't kill journalists for the sake of killing journalists and support a murderer like Abacha. So I did not support him on that. But he's lived a life. He's told us that he was flying up in the air and he saw how terrible Ghana was. People didn't have electricity and they were drinking from really terrible waters and all that. And he realized that even the water he had in his toilet was better than what the people were drinking. Also, the Brûlé cancer, he did a lot to quell that disease in Ghana. So he did some good things in Ghana. He was a genuine person who wanted to do good, but he did not have the people who could help him, like Lee Kuan Yew, to change Ghana. So as much as he was devoted to probity and accountability, it didn't work out the way that it should. But I believe that he meant well, and we should give him a good state burial.
Right. And if Ghana was not didn't have the privilege of having President J. Rawlings, that Ghana would be in the place where it's.
Susan, it's difficult. I can't even hear what you said. But what I will say is that Rawlings came for a purpose. He came in because there was corruption within the army. And I realized that because they also hurt my father. The corruption was so bad that he had to do something about it. But where he went wrong was that he wanted to kill everybody below the age of over the age of 30, and it's not right. He came in, he conquered, but he did some wrong, and some Ghanaians don't want to give. Some Ghanaians don't want to forgive him for it. I will forgive him because he meant well. But nobody is good enough. We all have our problems. He didn't come to Ghana just to kill and maim people. In the process, when the ratings took over, I was even told by Captain Victor Okankwe that there was in one area when the ratings came in and pulled the trigger. They wanted to shoot them. And he said, "Look, you go and kill the generals." If he hadn't done that, they would have killed Rawlings, they would have killed himself, Okonkwo, and the rest. So some of the killings were not done by Rawlings, but by the ratings. But because he was the head of state, we put everything on his head.
Right. Mike, do you think that if Ghana didn't have a President Jerry Rawlings, that Ghana would be a day politically, economically?
You see, JJ was a good man. He didn't have the people around him like Lee Kuan Yew had, because he had 20 years. He could have transformed Ghana. He could have transformed Ghana, but he didn't know how. He didn't know how. He meant well, but he didn't know how. And that's the sad story about JJ. He wanted Ghana to be the best. He wanted to stop all the corruption. He wanted accountability. But now there's even worse than before. What they did was, if you had 2 toilets, they even punished you. And now he's got a huge house, two huge properties. And people are saying, if you came and killed people for having 2 toilets, why do you have these 2 huge mansions? It's a paradox of life. I feel sorry for him. He unfortunately, none of us are perfect. You understand? I don't want to support JJ Rawlings as being perfect, but he attacked my family. I didn't like the idea that he did that, but he did that because he loved Ghana and he wanted the good for Ghana. But those who supported him created a situation that made it very difficult for everyone to support him.
Right. He created the multi-party system that Ghana enjoys today. So you're running.
Susan, Rawlings did not create the multi-party. He did not create the multi-party system. The movement for freedom and justice forced him to hand over to multi-party system. He was forced. He didn't want it. He is not a Democrat. He was forced to, but he listens. He's a good guy who listens. I know so many people who know him. He's a good listener, but he was not a Democrat. He was forced by the movement for freedom and justice to hand over to multi-party system.
Right. You are in of Ghana in the next elections, and you have run before, and you weren't successful, but you're running again. What are you going to bring to the table? What are you going to do differently? Learning all these things, learning from the mistakes of Rawlings and the people after him. What are you going to do differently that will benefit Ghana?
Susan, what we know, the NCCE has done a research. Ghanaians want good education, they want employment, and they want good health. You have to be able to pay for those things. You can't go and keep borrowing. And as a young man, I set up a business and I created jobs for the youth. Organic export. We happen to be the largest organic exporters in the world. So what I can do is to mirror what I've done. Farmers who never had a home, farmers who were sleeping in shacks, were able to build their own houses and buy their own pickup trucks and cars. I want to do that through the whole country. And they listen and they understand that I'm capable of doing that. The whole of Europe wants to buy organic fruits and vegetables. And we'll push the country to export non-traditional exports that will produce so much exports. We'll earn trillions of dollars doing that. And Ghanaians will be able to get jobs from the agricultural sector and also in energy. We're going to go heavily in solar energy. As I talked to you, Morocco is exporting $570 billion of energy to Spain. And Europe depends on Russia for energy. There's a company called Desert who are our partners, and they'll come bring cutting-edge industries to create jobs for the youth, and we'll create trillions of dollars. We'll create 3 to 4, 5 billion jobs in Ghana. And once we do that, the economy will roll, and there'll be so many people getting jobs from other areas that the country will be smiling all the way to the bank. And this is the message that most of the farmers and the chiefs and the people are taking on board. And as I go to the market women can't get enough. They are happy that somebody who knows how to create jobs is a parliamentary candidate, and they want this to happen, Susan.
Right. You know, that's what most politicians say. All the politicians, they always tell
Susan, I'm a businessman. I'm a politician. I'm a businessman first, and I know how to create jobs. And that's what I'm going to do throughout the whole country by getting. I supply all the supermarkets in Europe, and I have a market for organic produce. And I'm going to make sure that the farmers are properly trained to produce get organic certification, and we'll supply global gap and organic certification, and we'll supply. Ghana will become a bread basket. And as I talk to you, Boris Johnson wants to come and buy from West Africa, and if we are produced organic, he will buy from Ghana. As simple as that. I know how to get the farmers to work. I've done it, and I'm going to mirror it through the country.
Right. And without taking too much of your time, because I know you're off to another radio program, what would you be if you were the Ghanaian president, who is presently the chairman of the ECOWAS, and having suffer the realities that Nigeria suffers at the moment? How would you have handled the situation as ECOWAS, with the killings of the young people in Nigeria, with a government that don't seem to care and not educated enough to come up with ideas on how to handle it? Instead, they seem to be running Nigeria as though it's a military era. Ghanaian president and the chairman of the ECOWAS. How would you come across all Nigerians?
As of now, Susan, I'm the Secretary General for the West African Association of Political Parties. We are in the process of writing to Abacha to stop what is going on. The youth need to be helped. They should not be killed like it's going on. That is not democracy.
It's Muhammadu Buhari, not Abacha. Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes, sorry. Sorry, Susan.
I know you're stuck in Abacha's era. So
yes, I was in Abuja some time ago, and I loved Abuja so much. But we have to help the youth. The youth is the future of the world. You cannot destroy your future. You have to be able to listen to the future and help solve their problems. You don't go and shoot them and make their lives a misery. This should not happen in the whole of West Africa. As the Secretary General of the West African Association of Political Parties, we want most of the presidents to understand and listen to the youth and solve their problems instead of marshalling and trying to beat them up. It's totally wrong for the military style of keeping the peace to continue in this democratic dispensation. Am I clear enough?
Well, I heard some of what you said, and so I just want to say a big thank you for coming on Africa. I wish you all the best in the next elections, that you become president of Ghana, and then we'll have you back on this program to talk about.
Susan, I'm going to be the next president of Ghana. I have my cabinet in already. I know it's going to be the finance minister. I know the education minister. I know for all of them. I've been doing business and I have good friends. Trenko knows most of our guys. He knows we have the right people to run Ghana for the other African countries, West African countries, to see that we're a leader. But like Kwame Nkrumah said, the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's linked with the total liberation of the whole of Africa. We are going to do a lot to improve the economic emancipation of Ghanaians. Forget that the political side of it. Africa needs economic independence, and we have to do that.
Africa needs economic. I didn't hear the last bit of what you said, but whatever you.
Economic independence. We need economic independence. The political independence is not doing us any good. We need economic independence, and we can do that by exporting agricultural produce and also exporting solar energy to Europe. And also producing electrical cars and hydrogen cars.
Right.
We can do that. We have people who are, that's the tech who is prepared to come and join us to create millions of jobs in Africa.
There is a problem with the audio, so he's not hearing me.
It's unfortunate that we can't hear each other.
Yeah, we will try again next time, and hopefully it will be better. But Africa needs to be economically independent. We know that. Thank you so much.
Well, you are invited.
Okay, guys, I'm going to take a quick read whilst we try to bring on our next guest. She's originally Liberian, emigrated to the United States, and she won a landslide. She won against her the Republicans and the Liberals. We go on, we will continue to bring on this program the different continental Africans who are giant strides and winning, especially running for public offices in the United States and coming out tops. The comments that have come in. Sister Diane Medway Smith says, "Wow, I love your sincerity, good and bad man." Yes, he was very honest with that. He did mention that Jerry Rawlings was a good man who did some trying to salvage Ghana. And Charles Adinaya says, J.J. Rawlings' death is a blow to Africa as a continent. Few older statesmen left in Africa who understood and had the courage to stand up to the oppressed continental. He's bold and hands on he's bold and hands filtered down to the youths of today who are now awake and hungry for the opportunity to stare their own badly missed. May his soul rest in peace. Absolutely. And Diane Medway says, with what is going on, Africa is worse than what J.J. Rawlings did. I agree. Like, seriously, I'm always talking, and I have lived in Nigeria most of my life, even though I live here in London now, and I know what the realities are. I'm aiming for a messiah, a real, true messiah. And Glory Gresham says, that's right. Dr. Lartey made a very profound statement. Late Jerry Rawlings meant well. Absolutely. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, you know. Sometimes we learn on the job and we do it. But when the mistakes have to do with people losing their lives, then it becomes hard for people to look past. And Don Picasso says, if there can be such a thing as instinct, the consciousness of land and water must lie deeper in the core of us than any knowledge of our fellow beings. With Earth, before we were born of our mothers. Once born, we can live without our mothers, any kin or friend, or I think he meant we can't. Kin or friends, or even human law apart from it. And something is shriveled in man's heart when he turns away from it and concerns himself with the affairs of what? The world. And Diane Medway says, you are the Don Donald Trump. I don't know what she means by Mr. Lartey being the Donald Trump of Ghana. I had to let Mr. Lartey go because he was going to be going off to another interview on radio, and so I had to let him go. Plus, the network point in time, I am waiting to receive our guest from the United States of America, from Naquetta Ricks, and I do hope that she joins us really, really quickly soon. So quickly, just give me a moment for the sake that we are now going to be airing on television. Take what they usually call a commercial break. Just 30 seconds to a minute on our guest from America.
This is Femi Anikula Kukuti. You're watching Susan Rice on African West. Keep watching.
I urge all of you who know what it means to be African, all of you who may not know what it means to be African, all of you who are on the journey of awakening, all of you who need enlightenment and continued support, to tune in to Africa Rise with Susan West. And to you, Susan, as a mother, I want to thank you for all the great work that you're doing to uplift us, to continue to engage us, to inform us, and also challenging us to engage in those conversations, difficult as they may be. You are taking us there. So Susan West, Africa Rise, keep up the great work.
Africa Rise with Susan West.
Pleasure being on Africa Rise and the fact that you focus on African issues. And I would urge you to continue. And I hope that more and more people pay attention to the leaders that you bring to speak on Africa Rise, and that this will translate into some change for the better for our continent. Congratulations.
Okay. This is your numero uno. My name is Charlie Boy, the area father. You're the very one of Africa and the president of all frustrated Nigerians. Keep it real with Susan West. Yes, this is the channel where they like to watch when I won't get sand. You know?
Africa Rise with Susan West.
Yes, so welcome back. It is still Africa Rise with Susan West. I'm still waiting to receive our guest, Naquetta Ricks, who is the newly elect. She's a state representative in Colorado, representing District 40. So we're talking about how the diaspora can be galvanized to the continent of Africa through the ADDI. I know some of us who've been coming here know a little bit about the ADDI. It's a fantastic platform that has been created by the former ambassador of the African Union to the United States. It's a platform she has created. It's an organization she has created to bring Africans together. African diaspora has so much power and economic strength, and as diasporans to come on that platform to begin to put our monies where our mouth is, which is doing things differently. How we're going to bring our monies together and make sure that the countries on the continent of those jobs that they normally would give to the Chinese, to everybody else. So if you are a diasporan, if you are an African diasporan, you are go to addi.org, addi.org, and register your name, regardless of where you live. You know, and you are African in any way, shape, or form. That's a platform that you need to belong to, because we're beginning to not just talk a little differently, where we begin to bring developments to our continent with our own money. The same way the Chinese come and make a profit on the continent of Africa, the Americans come and make a profit on the continent of Africa. The Europe on the continent of Africa is how your money will make you a profit whilst developing your homeland. I is trying to achieve. So, pardon me, we're still waiting for Naquetta Ricks. Sometimes the time difference with the United States and everywhere else in the world. In the meantime, please like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Some people have mentioned to me at _Susan West, they seem not to be able to find the page to like and follow. So please do something. SWOB21, and you will find our page really quickly. Like and follow us. It doesn't take you anything to do so. Well, in the meantime, bringing your comments in regards to the African diaspora coming in with their monies to develop Africa. I mean, some of us have seen it. Can you imagine that? If that came to fruition, to light, that would be the Dubai of Africa. Yes, so we need a lot more of those kind of, infrastructure coming up in different parts. Yes. So bear with me whilst we wait to get it. Right. Helen D says it's 12:50 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. Absolutely. My guest is, and her time zone is a bit different from your time, I think. Maybe the same, I'm not sure. It can be a bit confusing sometimes. Really soon. But please send in your comments, questions as we go on. Your contribution you might have. And if you live outside Africa, regardless of which country you come from, please go to the ADDI. And when you do register, more information will be given to you on how you can be part of the people need to put their monies where their mouth is. Right. Send in your comment. Don't forget to send in your comment and forget to write something. This program is about us. It's a chit chat. Even though I can't hear your voice, I can read your thoughts from what. So we are still waiting for Naquetta Ricks, and I do hope that join us here. So some people might be wondering, some people say, I read somewhere, someone said that why the people abroad are more cross with the situations back home than the people back home. Because they don't want to be there. They don't want to be abroad. If anything was better, they don't want to be there. It might be many Africans who live outside the continent of Africa. Some people run away for greener pastures. Other people don't run for reasons. Regardless of what the reason is why you left the continent of Africa, the different countries. The thing that brings us together is our Africanness. The Africanness. And when you have come to the realization or the truth of how life should be, where you begin to want to hold your government of the different countries where we come from to higher. Because maybe before we left the continent of Africa, we didn't realize that we could have had much more. And now see that what we're given is not what we should be given, and we begin to demand for more. So it's not always a situation where people are running away from the continent because they're in search of greener pastures alone. And if they're so concerned, even more concerned about the issues that Africans deal with, it's also because we come to a place and we understand how systems make things work, how we can make our communities, our countries better. And so we begin to demand, we begin to want to demand. And when we see our community, lacking and struggling to live as human beings, and as the human beings that they are, then we begin to raise our voices because we have been given the privilege to see more and more, and we do not want to be left with the mediocrity and the yes, most of the government of Africa, most of them are so inept and unable to understand that some kind of lower creature that don't deserve the things that they enjoy when they leave and go to, because we know how systems work. Absolutely, we know how systems work, and so we want a better Africa where everyone's life matters, and we want a continent where we know that our leaders are actually in every way to serve and not become lords and masters over us. Diane Medway Smith says, I have a video to share with you later. Oh, I want Africa to progress. Yes, because of their own selfish gain, and someone secretly filmed it. They want Africa to be poor because they know. I think I know the video you're talking about, Diane. I've also shared it on my page. I did see it, and I was wondering when I saw it. One of the things that came to my mind is how the way I felt when I saw this. I'm thinking anybody in any positions of authority in Africa would see this, and if they were clueless, there should be a light bulb moment. Still, they are unmoved. They are unshaken. They don't care. I mean, you can all that information and all that revelation, and they still will do things the way they do things. Why? Because it's about the people who know these things. These people are godless people. We are a continent that is very religious, yet we're struggling. These people will also need to take positions of authority and rule over us are godless people. They are heartless people, because if they are people with hearts, they will see their people suffering and begin to want to see something. Is they steal all the for instance, during the looting of palliative, what goes through the minds of these individuals who store away food meant for others until they even expire? What goes through the minds of these people who pile away, stock away some of the monies they find in houses buried on the ground or in some room are rotten gotten money, minds of those people. So it doesn't matter what information we put in front of their face. It is just that we haven't gotten the reality that are supposed to be there. And that's the reason why we will not lose this moment. This moment protest has created, which is we begin to galvanize. There are many groups people can join. There are many groups people can join now. I am a member of so many different groups with the air that came from the join groups. Begin to make your voices heard. Begin to bring your ideas on how we must make sure that by the time 2023, inept, wicked, selfish, clueless leaders to take over the reins of office. And bring our guest on, Naquetta Ricks. I can see her in the background and I'm pretty excited. Thank you guys for this. And still to remind you to create watch parties. Hello, Naquetta.
Hello, Susan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, doing well. Thank you.
By congratulating you on your victory at the polls. We are super proud of you.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I had to pinch myself several times, Susan, is this really real? But yes, we did it. We won. And I'm so thankful to the people of House District 40 and the community for believing in our platform and voting for us. So.
Right. I'm going to quickly go into, first of all, asking how you migrated to the United States from Liberia. How long did you live? What is your history in the United States, and how did you get yourself to this position where they trust you enough?
You know, so my family moved
into representing the people.
Yes, that's a really good question. Thank you so much. So my family moved to the United States in 1980 after a bloody military coup in Liberia. My mother was held at gunpoint and interrogated by soldiers because she was engaged to a government official. So they searched our home, and when they found him, they dragged my mother and him to our driveway. They threw him in the back of a pickup truck, and by the grace of God, they did not take my mother. And within a few days, they had rounded up all the members of the government, 13 total. They lined them up on the beach in Monrovia and shot them by firing squad. So it was through this trauma that my family exited within like a couple months. By the June of that year, we had left. We left our homes with probably about one suitcase each, and that was it because we knew that the soldiers would come back. We first came into the United States, visited some relatives in Chicago, Illinois, and then by August, we came to Colorado because my mother had two sisters that were here in college. And so that's how we got to Colorado. We moved to Aurora, Colorado, and Aurora opened its doors to us. I grew up here in Aurora. I'm a graduate of Aurora Central High School, went on to get my undergraduate degree in accounting from Metropolitan State University. And then from there, I went on to University of Colorado to get my MBA. I've been very active in the community. I got married here. I basically grew up in Colorado. I see myself as a Colorado girl, growing up here. And I got really active. I'm a small business owner. During the economic downturn, I got involved, in understanding, the economy and how it impacted small businesses like myself. And then in 2012, I knocked on doors for Barack Obama and was very inspired, of course, by seeing the first Black person become the US president. And so I think that inspired me a little bit. And I went out to knock doors. And during the knocking of doors, I enjoyed engaging community and hearing about their hopes and their dreams for their families and what they wanted to see happen with their elected officials. I also went through political training through Emerge, and I then was asked, if you were to run for office, what would you run for? And I said I would run around something that would help education, because as an immigrant, education is really the great equalizer for us. And I ran for the Board of Regents for the University of Colorado. I lost that year. I got over 100,000 votes, but it was not enough to win. And after that, I kept engaged in our community, talking especially to immigrants, because our immigrant population were not really that into the local elections. And, politics is local, even though we get very, very excited about the presidential races. That's in Washington, D.C. Overall, they set policy, but on the local level, that is where the laws that impact our families, our money, our economy, and everything around our lives is decided. And I noticed that we were not involved at all. So I ran again for Aurora City Council in 2017. I came in third. And it was like, oh, well, maybe politics is not, for me. I don't know. I thought I wouldn't run again. But then I just got this really strong desire again in, late 2019 to run for the state seat. I think I was especially inspired by, the current administration with all of the negative things they had to say about immigrants. Mexican immigrants were criminals. Africans were coming from S-hole countries, and all of these negative things. And I know that immigrants add so much to the tax base. We are hard workers, we're small business owners, we're nurses and doctors, we're maids, we're cab drivers. We bring so much to the U.S. economy. And so not seeing anyone that had an accent like me, had my lived experience down in the state capitol, was an inspiration to say, well, we need representation and we need to be at the table. And so that was why I ran.
Absolutely. Wow. Other continental Africans who are in the United States to also think big and look, because there are loads of continental Africans when they immigrate, they don't realize that they can go that far, especially in a relatively fair and just society like some of the countries back home in Africa. I want to ask you, as an expert in business, how would you explain the importance of what the ADDI African Diaspora?
So the ADDI, African Diaspora Development Institute, has a model that Africans should build Africa, that we need to build the Africa that we want. And it's very important that we as Africans, when we are involved in developing our continent, that we will bring the love, we'll bring the support, we'll bring the understanding and the cultural, integration that we need in order to develop Africa. We have been fortunate to come into different countries of the world and glean knowledge, skills, and abilities that we need to take back home. Some of us have acquired wealth, and we're still able to leverage all of this knowledge and take it back home to help to build and have a voice in the development of Africa. Africa is the new frontier. Africa is where most of the wealth, the resources, natural resources come from. And we really need to play a role. So I totally support, and that's why I'm a part of ADDI, because I believe in the mission that we as Africans should have that influence, should have that impact in Africa.
Right. There was a bit of a group there. Knowing one with over 59% of the total vote casted against your opponent, what are the plans? What are you going to do differently for the people that you represent?
That's a great question, Susan. And, you know, as I ran on a platform of putting Colorado back to work, helping to get us through this this horrible pandemic that has struck us, so many small business owners have been faced with decreased revenues. They had to close their businesses. So many people are out of work because the industries that they work in have been greatly impacted by COVID-19. So I think one of the biggest things, the first thing is to put Colorado back to work, is to ensure that small businesses are recovering through this pandemic. And a lot of restaurants, would, for example, in my county, have not been able to weather the storm. Most of them had closed down because they've had to lower the capacity of their customer base in order to be compliant with COVID-19 laws. So we must ensure that these small businesses get the funding that they need to recover. They were not able to participate within the PPP and the economic disaster loans that were put out by the federal government. So on a local level and going forward, we have to push on our delegation in Washington and advocate for our small businesses to ensure that they are qualifying for, you know, the economic disaster relief packages. Also healthcare, because COVID took the Band-Aid off healthcare. We knew that there were a lot of inequities within our system, but now we have to correct those inequities around health insurance access, affordability. We have to also help our public school students who, once they started to go to school from home, we realized that there was a digital divide. Some people had access to internet. Some people did not have access to internet or even the computers. So we have to ensure that there is equity and that we are mending some of these systemic issues that have consistently and being so pervasive within our government, and ensure that this is a democracy that's working for everyone.
Right. He says, please, do you see yourself relocating back to Liberia? The second question is, when was your last visit to Liberia?
So can you repeat the first question? Do I see myself repatriating to Liberia? Was that the question?
Do you see yourself coming back, relocating?
I mean, you know, Liberia is my home. I've been there and I'm active doing things with women and youth. I'm also very active with our surfing federation. I have taken business people back so that they can to a trade and investment conferences in Liberia, so that they are able to invest within the private sector in Liberia. The last time I was there was 2018. I made 4 visits to Liberia. So Liberia is in my heart, and I am working to do whatever we can to help people back home, especially empowering women and youth.
Right. And just to motivate or teach young Africans on the continent, young Africans in general, male or female, in politics, and how, in your experience or idea, do you think that who live in Africa can get involved in politics and galvanize to be positions in governance?
And again, that's a very good question. For young people in Africa, I would say that there are more tools and opportunities through social media. Social media is able to galvanize people. They may not have a lot of money, because we know that in Africa we don't have the election laws or the campaign finance things where, you know, you can go to your fellow people to raise money. Usually a lot of people don't have the money to to donate to politicians or to contestants. But what I would say is that they can galvanize. I know that recently in Nigeria, we had the youth that were trying to stand up and protest for their rights. And, they got shot and killed. And that was just, wrong. But what I'm saying is that, truly to have democracy, we must start holding our leadership accountable. What I've noticed is that, especially like in Liberia, where I come from, the vote can be bought for $5 or a bag of rice, and, after 2 years or 3 years, when it's time for them to run again, they come back and that person has achieved and amassed a great amount of wealth, but the people are still poor or people are still struggling. I think we really need to start thinking differently about about the vote, because your vote is your voice. We also need to hold these leadership accountable, and that means every step of the way, because we cannot continue to let people say they're going to govern, because who govern matters. And when they govern, we don't hold them accountable. Accountability is very, very important. So young people can have a voice. Young people can start movements through, social media. And I think, in galvanizing and being educated on the issues and really holding politicians to task.
Absolutely. And that is something that the NSAS have achieved so far. There are many platforms for young people, for old people, for everyone who doesn't like the way this. And finally, do you think that the African diaspora could also come together in not just putting monies together and bringing developments, but to bringing our voices together so that when things like Nigeria, with the military opening fire on young protesters, singing the national anthem, covering their bodies with a national flag, do you think that we can come together to make sure that if the people on ground back at home are oppressed, that we bring the might of the international community on whoever that is in?
Yes, I think we should. Okay. Yeah, I do think that we should influence. We have, because a lot of us send money back home. That's what we do. We work hard here and we send money back home. And I think that we should be able to help to influence, how things are running there in those countries, and by supporting our young people, because now, the manners of how we can negotiate with, the government and the powers, etc., is important, because we have to have a say in how things are being run and governed, and make sure that the people of our countries are protected, that they have a right to protest and not be killed because they're protesting and exercising a basic right of democracy.
Right. I know you're a very busy woman. Your final words of encouragement or whatever it is for continental
Africa is. I'm sorry, you cut off for a little bit. Yes.
Right. Generally, as Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, talk to us, encourage us.
Yes. I think there's so much that Africa brings to the world. Africa is the last frontier. And with the Continental African Free Trade Agreement that is being signed, we know that there is a lot of hope around Africa. The work that ADDI is doing and other organizations who have a Pan-African viewpoint and perspective. I think that we all need to galvanize as Africans in the diaspora and daughters and sons of Africa to ensure that we have a voice, that we contribute financially, that we are engaged in the development of Africa. Because for too long, we've been impacted by colonizers and so many different things. We have to develop and put in the basic infrastructure that is needed for development. We have to develop our private sector. We all have to develop our young people as far as education and skills. We need to invest ourselves and take back what we have learned and been so blessed to achieve here in, abroad, and take it back to Africa and be a big part of it. And I think there's a lot of hope. Africa has the youngest population. Most advanced countries, I guess, are aging very fast, and we still have the youngest population. We are going to be the workforce. We are going to be the people who are giving the not, and we need to stop just giving away our resources. We need to now develop products that we can sell to the world, and we need to develop our countries so that we're able to keep people in our countries growing in an economic sector, whether it's private sector, whether it's tourism, whether it is, being a part of aerospace, whatever it is, we're able to do it. But we just need to put our minds together and hold together and not be bought cheaply, because we're so hungry. In a lot of cases, there's not enough opportunity, so people fall for anything because they think, well, this is better than nothing. So we as people need to hold the nations and the leadership accountable there, so that they are developing the countries. Everyone cannot come abroad. I think I would like, we need to have opportunities within the 54 countries of Africa to ensure that people are achieving a higher standard of living. Kids are going to school. The market women are achieving and growing products. We need to, take advantage of the farmlands that we have. And, there's so much opportunity there. And I think we really just need to come together and be focused, and we can do it, because there's nothing that we can achieve if we are unified as a continent.
Absolutely. Just before I let you go, Derek says, how can you hold these politicians accountable when there's a gun pointing at you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I know, because you could lose your life, and that's a strong point. I mean, I think that maybe they listen to, like, the United Nations. They listen to, for example, people in some of the Western countries. For example, I know that and that was one of the reasons with the current administration that we have, their policies on Africa and how they, it was more nationalistic instead of a global perspective. So I think that they do listen, and we as diasporans, to the extent that we can impact the governments in the countries that we're in, to put pressure on those governments to do better and to treat the people better. That is one avenue that comes to mind, that we have to push on the politicians and the people that we vote for here, to put pressure in the African nations. And unfortunately, it's like, well, we always say, well, why can't Africa solve their own problems? Well, we can in some cases, but in other cases, it probably takes like the whole world to speak. And we need to use the avenues that we have to get them to listen.
Absolutely. Who say that The Hague seemed to have been created just for African countries, because you see other Western governments or personalities being brought to The Hague. But I spoke too quick in time. I don't think that we have gotten to the point where we should do away with that, because that every African president or head of state, whatever they call themselves, should be brought to book. And one of the ways we can do that is actions that calls for them to be taken to The Hague. I think at this point that when examples have been made of abusing human rights in all the different African countries and locked up after basically, that will definitely become a deterrent in having these sort of leadership that think do and undo, as my mom will say. Thank you so very much, Naquetta Ricks. Thank you for coming on Africa Rise. And sorry about the next time.
Thank you so much, Susan, for having me. It's been my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Right. Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yes, I did mention to you guys earlier that the network issues coming from my side is going to be over. This is the last Sunday. Changed over to a different service provider, and they weren't good. But my contract with them, and I'm going to go back, and it's going to be better. I'm going to go back to my old love. I would say, so I am sure that before I changed to these people, I didn't have all these issues. And so from next Sunday, I know that our broadcast is not going to be from the guests that I'll be bringing, but at least to a certain extent, from my end, we won't be having these frustrating in network. Thank you so very much. And of course, Diane, Helen D, I see you. Thank you so very much, podcast. We are grateful. Thank you. And as we go into the week, I will announce who the next guest is going to be on Africa Rise. Follow us on all our platforms. Please do so. Like and follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. Subscribe to just press the bell button when you do, so that you are alerted when we do go live. And it's been my pleasure, as always, to be bringing on all the continental Africans who have won elections in the United States of America to come and be motivated as to how they did it. And it will enable us to begin to aspire for greatness. See you next Sunday. Goodbye. God bless you. Bye-bye.